As I was going through the news, I was looking at some videos, as I want to do. And one of the videos I saw was from Glenn Beck saying, evidence China might take Taiwan before Trump's inauguration. Either here or there. But this is the video. We're not going to play any of it, but it got me going down a rabbit hole, as I want to do. And it's an interesting one. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Let's get to this. After I watched that video, I started looking, because I remember last year hearing about some wargaming that had taken place. So I started looking it up. And then I found this. This is dated December 27th of 2024. Wargaming a Chinese invasion of Taiwan. And this goes through a few scenarios. And it's basically the executive summary of a war game, a series of war games conducted by CSIS about the invasion of Taiwan. And a number of things become crystal clear. In every scenario, in every single scenario, the United States loses thousands of sailors, dozens of ships, dozens of aircraft. And this is in all 24 scenarios. In no scenario does the United States and Taiwan have victory. Also, in no scenario does China occupy Taiwan. What ends up happening in most of the scenarios, and I'm going to look through them because I was able to download the actual report. It's only 150 some pages. I'm going to go through it, and I'll have a more specific report. But what became clear is that the United States cannot logistically supply any force in Taiwan. That any and all forces used to transport goods, materials, supplies, equipment, anything, does not come back. The report that I'm specifically citing discusses Marine littoral regiments. We've discussed this on this channel previously. Marine littoral regiments are small, about 2,200 Marines, whose mission is to be deployed onto small islands and set up missile sites. Naval strike missiles, anti-aircraft missiles, Patriot batteries, things like that. And in every single scenario, those Marines are cut off. And those Marines are just forced to either fight to their end or surrender. It's quite an alarming report. I'm going to just cite the one sentence here. I'll bring it up. In other scenarios, the Marines were destroyed or left unsupplied to surrender or die. This is a number of them. I am going to link everything I have here. This report, this giant report. Let me go down to the last page. I want to tell you how many pages this is, including all expansions. It has all context, 155 pages. It goes through all 24 scenarios. I am going to go through all 24 scenarios because I'm fascinated by this. This is absolutely fascinating to me. Because to me, it proves that you have to think outside the box. I'm skimming this as I go right now. This is absolutely fascinating. As you look at the specifics of this, this is absolutely fascinating. In 21 of 24 iterations, the Chinese invasion force landed in the south, where Taiwanese defenses were lightest. Only in scenarios where they were able to maintain beachheads and landing zones were they able to achieve a diplomatic solution that would be deemed acceptable if you were playing the Chinese side. This is amazing. Again, I'll link this. As I've said in a previous video, however, and I do think that this needs to be stated, and this kind of goes down another rabbit hole as well. What I think needs to be stated is that if Taiwan is learning the lessons from Ukraine, from the Ukraine war, then it is impossible for the People's Liberation Army, the People's Liberation Army Navy, the People's Liberation Army Navy Air Force to successfully invade and conquer Taiwan. The drone has changed the world. The FPV drone armed with a simple shaped charge has changed everything. Everything. And there's no reason you can't have thousands of those flying at a moment's notice on an instant alert. But these war games are fascinating. That in combination with what I was discussing this morning, and I'll link that video with this, the lack of an industrial base to supply what we would need to actually logistically take care of Taiwan. How we would even get there is another story unto itself. Would we even be able to handle? Because according to this, we send C-17s to try to supply these Marines. The entire cap gets shot down. Transports, fighter escorts, everything. That the Chinese air defense is too strong. And that's in every single one of these scenarios. This is an amazing piece that I hope that people actually... I don't think anyone's going to read all 155 pages like I'm going to, but take this to heart. What Glenn has said is essentially right. If they wanted to invade, they could, and there's not a lot we could do. But if Taiwan is learning the proper lessons, there's a lot they could do. I just hope they have. I'm just skimming through this as I continue to prattle on. Just going through combat losses, ship losses. Wow. Yep, I will link this entire thing. The PDF is 155 pages, 165. I apologize. I'm looking at the top now. 165 pages. It's worth a read. I'll put in the brief articles about it as well. They're worth a skim. And that led me to why Taiwan is so important. Because of the chip manufacturing. And this article just popped up. U.S. will start manufacturing advanced chips. A TSMC fab will open in Arizona in 2025. A test of the CHIPS Act. And this is an incredibly good article. It discusses the new burgeoning chip manufacturing base here in the United States that we need to have to take the place of Taiwan. And this article here specifically discusses Taiwan and its place in the chip world. Its pinnacle place in the chip world, which might be displaced by the United States here. This factory sounds amazing. But I hope there's a couple of Tomahawk cruise missiles that have the coordinates of that factory in Taiwan ready to go. It needs to be. I'm going to link everything here. I know this is me just kind of rattling on, but I found this a heck of a rabbit hole. And I'm going to have a more specific take on it once I go through all of this report. And I'm going to. Because as I just look at it right now, this isn't just one scenario, an average of 17,000 PLA casualties and 22,000 Taiwanese casualties. This is clearly getting in depth. This is going into the weeds. And if there's nothing that I love more than wargaming into the weeds. So I appreciate you listening to me just rattle on about this. This literally is just me prattling on, and I appreciate you listening. But that's all I got. I'll stop now. I'll stop now. Everything will be linked, including the Beck video, which does make some good points. But again, it's Beck. Take it or leave it. This report, all 165 pages will be linked to this. The CHIPS report will be linked to this. The CSIS executive summary will be linked to this. That's from 2023. And you heard whispers of this in the corridors of power. Is one of the things I am just going to bring up one thing specifically before I go from this report. It's from the person at the Rand Corporation. And this is why I think this is so important. This is why I keep going on and on about this. Here we go. For example, in a widely cited commentary, I'll bring it up. In a widely cited commentary, David Oshmanek, I'm sorry I butchered that, a senior Rand analyst noted, in our games, we fight Russia and China. The United States gets its ass handed to it. Michelle Flourney, former Undersecretary of Defense for Policy, similarly stated, the Pentagon's own war games reportedly show that current force plans would leave the military unable to deter and defeat China's aggression at this time and in the future. Another report noted that a secret war game showed the United States could prevail in the conflict with China, but at risk of causing nuclear war. That's what it would take to defeat them. Got to think out of the box. Got to think differently. It's not going to work doing it with the standard method of war. Taiwan, I hope you have all the FPV drones in the world that you're making them by the boatload. Like I said, I'll stop now. I continue to ramble. I do appreciate listening to it.